5 bills that would erode Florida's public records law. Florida has one of the most expansive public records laws in the nation. Yet our fearless leaders in Tallahassee don't seem too fond of it. Governor Rick Scott in 2015 agreed to fork over $1 million in taxpayer money to settle allegations he violated the Florida Sunshine Law by, ahem, using a private email account. New exemptions are carved out just about every year. According to the First Amendment Foundation, there are now 1,119 of them. Compare that to the 250 on the books in 1985. This year, legislators are again intent on dismantling the public's right to know. The First Amendment Foundation is tracking 59 bills that would create new exemptions or extend existing ones, making the Sunshine State a little shoddier. We're in the midst of Sunshine Week, a nationwide initiative to promote transparency in government, so what better time to run through the bills that could chip away most at Florida's open records law? Here they are. 1. House Bill 843 would allow members of a board or commission to talk about public matters behind closed doors, without notification or recorded minutes. Under the Sunshine Law, any discussion between 2 or more members of a public body must be open and noticed. Representative Byron Donalds, the Naples Republican who filed the bill, claims current law hinders officials' ability to craft effective policy and gives undue influence to staff and special interests. The bill has been widely condemned as something that would obliterate the Sunshine Law. 2. As initially proposed, Senate Bill 80 would have left it up to judges to determine whether to award attorney's fees to a person who sues after being illegally denied records, rather than being mandatory. It was filed by our friend Senator Greg Steube, a Sarasota Republican who's been busy tossing out a slew of insane proposals. The bill would make it virtually impossible for the average citizen to fight for his or her right to access public records. Steube said he was trying to target bad actors who are abusing the law. After the First Amendment Foundation weighed in, the bill was amended to maintain the part requiring fees be granted to successful litigants. It still concerns the foundation because it requires a preponderance of evidence to win fees. 3. Senate Bill 968 would exempt photographs, videos, and audio recordings depicting the killing of a person. Filed by Senator Randolph Bracy, a Democrat from Orlando, it was reportedly spurred by the mass shootings at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport and Pulse nightclub, and out of concern for victims' families. But the bill would hamper the public's ability to find out what happened in incidents including fatal confrontations between law enforcement and civilians. That includes, for example, the 2015 shooting of Corey Jones by a Palm Beach Gardens police officer, which resulted in charges because a recording contradicted the officer's story. 4. Senate Bill 478 would seal personal identifying information of applicants for president, provost, or dean of public colleges and universities in Florida, as well as close meetings held to vet candidates or establish compensation. Senator Kathleen Passidomo, the Naples Republican who filed the bill, says it's necessary because some potential candidates might shy away from applying for fear of losing their current position. The bill, however, would hide from public view the selection process for publicly funded institutions. The First Amendment Foundation fears the bill could cause a potential landslide of legislation exempting applicants for all public positions. 5. House Bill 111 would conceal the identities of murder witnesses. Sponsored by Miami Democratic Representatives Cynthia Stafford and Kyan McGee, the bill is meant to encourage more witnesses to come forward. But there's no evidence witnesses are discouraged because of public records laws. And judges already have the authority to hide witness identity. Additionally, the exemption would prevent the public from obtaining all of the information in murder cases and from being able to consider witness character. And this is why I don't like Byron Donalds' Republican Representative Naples, Florida plan to lessen our rights to public access. We are in the top 10 states for corruption. It's mind-blowing how corrupt it is here. We need more access. Current law safeguards government transparency. The cornerstone of our constitutional democratic republic is protecting citizens' right to full and public notice when their elected officials are discussing or making decisions that could affect the taxpayers' daily lives. As a nonpartisan government watchdog and taxpayer research institute that focuses on promoting government accountability and transparency, Florida Tax Watch supports the use of public notices in local newspapers of record by government entities to notify all of its citizens of meetings and votes. Unfortunately, current proposed legislation would allow municipality websites to be the only required source for public notice posting. Overall, the changes put forth in the proposed legislation mean that local newspapers would no longer be required to house and circulate public notices, thus causing Floridians to be less informed about current government issues. Since newspapers and their websites possess a larger audience due to a wealth of information across a breadth of issues, the fact that these media outlets would no longer be required to house public notices results in less written information provided to the people. A recent scientific poll by Mason-Dixon shows that Florida citizens overwhelmingly want wider access to the public notice information, as 83% of respondents polled want local governments to carry public notices in newspapers, and 82% said they would not seek out information on government websites. Additionally, the proposed legislation shifts delivering public notice information from an active to a passive stance. Newspapers reach out to their audience through intentional delivery, also offering accessibility to those without the means to an internet connection. A notice strictly available on government-run websites would eliminate the critical neutrality and independence of a newspaper or other third party. It would be possible, likely even, for government entities to miss notification deadlines, leave out critical information or make changes electronically to items on their websites without public knowledge. When something runs in the newspaper, it is permanently printed and distributed for all to reference and re-examine anytime. Here at Florida Tax Watch, we regard transparency as being of paramount importance when it comes to the state and local government's interactions with their citizens. In order for residents to trust and hold their government accountable, taxpayers should be entitled to an unabridged and open flow of information concerning public notices in their community. They should not be beholden by government websites to provide residents with critically important and timely information. This is why Florida Tax Watch promoted policies that expanded the use and access to public notice information through newspapers, their websites, and even email to residents who requested updated notices. With the newspapers providing third-party verification, Florida taxpayers are ensured greater access to public notice information, allowing them to stay in the know about their communities and just how their hard-earned dollars are being utilized. Dominic M. Calabro is president of Florida Tax Watch for nearly 4 decades. Pat Neal is a former state senator and chairman-elect of Florida Tax Watch and president of Neal Communities. Dominic M. Calabro and Pat Neal. Guest column.